Good morning, it's Corrine. So I'm out here again. Of course, today I thought, I'm not going to do a video this morning. I'm going to just start my work right away. But I'm starting to realize how incredibly healing it is for me to do these videos because it does help to, I can't help but think all these thoughts. That's been my situation my entire life. The thoughts are there. They're always going to be there. They're going to come up again. And by doing this, I get the thoughts out and I get them organized, and then I have this website that I put them on, and it's really an interesting way to kind of have my thoughts and have them organized outside of myself. I suppose in some ways it's sort of like journaling or writing a lot and getting it out of my head and getting it sort of in some sort of organized fashion. I know as INFJs we like to be perfectionistic, and sometimes we don't start things because we want to have it in the right order so much. And I noticed some of the INFJs out there are really good at getting it in the right order, so I'm thinking, wow, they're really working on that perfectionism. I also get a certain amount of stress from my perfectionism as well, so I decided with these, because, before I do them, I think, I need to do a short one on this and a short one on that, and I can't put these two things together. But you know what? I think because this is really mostly for my own healing and hopefully for other people's healing, I'm just going to wing it and go with it. So whatever comes out, and that'll be what is useful for that day. And, I think as INFJs, as empaths, and as introverts, I read something that said the quietest minds or the quietest people have the loudest minds, and I think that's absolutely true. Because most of the time we end up being really reticent. We're trying to blend into the background because we don't feel like we fit in, but we see everything. We observe, and then we process, and we have all these thoughts going on, and as we're walking around during the day, we're thinking these thoughts as if there's like this imaginary audience there. But it's really just us. and these thoughts are going round and round, and then we're not paying attention to the real world, which we have to live in to survive. So anyway, I'm finding this really healing, and I think, anyone else who is dealing with these thoughts, make yourself a YouTube channel, because what a wonderful way to get those thoughts out there. And also, if you stay within the INFJ empath community, we're naturally nice people. And I think a lot of times INFJs and empaths are so afraid of criticism. They just, they see what the real world is like, and they're afraid of the real world. So they're afraid to put themselves out there because they don't want any criticism. And, oh my God, they need to be perfect. But you know what? No, if you're putting yourself out there to other INFJs and empaths and INFPs, this is a wonderful, nice community. And so, people aren't going to criticize you. And if they do, who cares, right? I mean, that's, I suppose, the wonderful thing about the internet. So I'm really enjoying this expression. I'm enjoying getting these thoughts out there, and they're not swirling in my head. I'm also enjoying sort of understanding myself more. I started making these playlists on movies and songs and other things that really make me feel and make me think. And originally I thought, well, I'll just make these private, but then I thought, you know what, maybe other people like these sort of things too. I think as far as what we like, humor and songs and that sort of thing, I think it's obviously all individual. Everything comes from our own individual feelings and experiences. But I think one thing that is across the board is we like things that give us a strong emotional response. Like whenever I hear certain songs or I hear certain poetry or and it moves me, or I see a movie and it moves me, like a certain movie scene. And what happens is somewhere around my solar plexus, I get this feeling, I get this sort of emotional response, like right away, like it hits me, and then it kind of like comes up into my head, like this emotional feeling. So it kind of comes up, and then I start kind of crying, like I get some tears. So I will have, and I like that emotional response. I don't know what it is, but I really like it. And all of the things that I've put out there so far are, certainly with songs and movies, are things that give me that emotional response, and for whatever reason. And I realize they might not give everybody that emotional response, but I think you probably know what I'm talking about when you hear something that, and what I think it is when we get that emotional response, I think it's when we hear the truth. Like when we hear our own truth, because, we go about our day and we go about the world and we try to fit in. And then we hear a song and there's lyrics that are really profound, and somehow we connect with them. And that's when we get that whoosh, that emotional response. And it feels really good. There's something cleansing about getting that emotional response. And I've noticed one of the most amazing feelings for me is going to see live music, especially a concert of, where I know I'm going to get an emotional response from the songs. Like, you can probably tell from my playlist that I really like The Who, and a few years ago, I went to several of their concerts, and it was just extraordinary, because, it's a little bit like when you're getting there, there's a lot of anxiety because you're around all these people and there's a crowd, and it's kind of hard. But then once the music starts and everybody's like focused on it, that emotional response is just unbelievable to me. And, it's just this incredible, incredible high. I always wonder, why do people drink when they go to concerts? Because that would just dull the emotional high that you get. I think as INFJs and empaths, like we live in our head most of the time. We're really not in the real world. But when we can push that aside, when we can focus on the real world in these like few times, like when you're doing extreme sports, or when you're doing, or like you're in the middle of a concert with music you really love, I think our experience is actually much higher than most people's experience. I think we can, wow, really, really experience it well. I went to the Sting and Paul Simon concert, and I'm 47, so I suppose I like a lot of these older musicians, and every time a song would come on, I'd be like, oh my God, this song, oh my God, because I've heard these songs on the radio my entire life, and I would be doing, and I would get the emotional response at various times during my life with the song. And to be in that concert hall and to just feel that wave of emotion, go over me is really incredible. So, I guess what I want to say is just, don't worry so much about that real world, and what everybody else wants you to be. Celebrate yourself. Look for those. I think this is kind of how you find yourself in some way. We're so used to playing the servant and putting ourselves outside of ourselves. Come back into yourself. What do you love? Make a list, and you don't have to make it public or anything. Just make it for yourself, and make it private, and then come back to it and feel that emotional response when you hear those beautiful lyrics, or you watch that one scene from a movie that really, really hits you, and just enjoy it. And I so many INFJs and empaths are prone to anxiety and depression. I know obviously I was, and I know that stemmed from, and my theory is so much of the anxiety and depression of INFJs and empaths is not fitting into the real world and thinking there's something wrong with you, and having that pressure. And there's going to be pressure. I mean, obviously, the real world was not meant for us. It was not created for us. It was created by these other personality types, and we will never quite fit in there. And what we need to do is realize our strengths, and create the world that we do fit into, and create that around us. I mean, I can see from when I watch YouTube videos, and so many of them are younger people in their 20s, and I can see the pain in a lot of their voices and the struggle. And now some of them are fine or seemingly fine. And maybe those are the ones who have studied the personality types more and feel more comfortable with it. Maybe they're from a family of origin that really accepts them. I don't know. I mean, I think some feel okay with it, but I think there's a lot out there that are struggling, that are really struggling with being who they are. And I just want to say, for someone who's been through it and is still struggling, obviously, every day I deal with fitting in my own way, but it's going to be okay. And, I wish I had somebody to tell me that when I was your age. And it's going to be okay. Okay, before I get too much more emotional, because I just hit my emotional button, I think I'm going to go. But I want everybody to have a good day. Okay, love you. Bye.